Hi, this is the Landscape Ontario podcast. My name is Scott Barber. Today I'm joined by Norm Miller. He's the Member of Provincial Parliament for Parry Sound-Muskoka. I'm really glad to have Norm join us today to talk about Bill 118, which passed at Queen's Park earlier this month in December of 2020. As the industry knows, and I think the public is becoming increasingly aware, we are experiencing right now what is truly a crisis where insurance costs for winter maintenance is absolutely skyrocketing. This is something that's a top priority for Landscape Ontario to work towards solutions. And one of the things that's going to make an impact is this legislation, which amends the Occupiers Liability Act so that notice for slip and fall claims is reduced from what was 2 years to now 60 days. This is something that LO, as well as its snow and ice sector group, believe will provide a more reasonable time frame for winter maintenance professionals, as well as property owners and managers, to maintain the records that they need to defend themselves when claims occur. So Norm Miller, he spearheaded this bill. He's going to explain why it was an important issue for him, and he's also going to look ahead to some of the potential next steps. That is coming right up. So Norm, can you tell us a little bit about why it was important for you to get involved with this legislation, Bill 118?
Well, it became apparent, as I think I mentioned in the debates, et cetera, it came initially from the riding, from just a contractor who was facing extremely high insurance costs. And from there, when I proposed the bill, became aware and that it was a problem right across the province. And, we have winter in Ontario and we need snow removal to stay safe. So I felt it was an important problem that needed to be dealt with, the high insurance costs being faced by snow contract operators.
For sure. What had you been hearing, I guess, from some of your constituents and other people across the province on this issue?
Well, from my constituents, as I think I mentioned a few times in debate, it was initially Dave Finch from West Finch and Sons in Bracebridge, who just had the contract for the local hospital in Bracebridge, who was just saying that, costs were going up a lot, and they were for a medium-sized company like theirs, and Dave felt that for a small operator, they probably wouldn't be able to get insurance at all, or for somebody just doing a few driveways, they'd probably think that their own vehicle insurance would cover them when it would not. And then I also heard from owners of businesses that we're facing more and more slip and fall accidents, or suits, I should say. And, there was an owner of a business over by Parry Sound that had a Tim Hortons and gas station, et cetera. And typically they would find they were being sued right at the end of the 2-year period. And that was at a time when they, might not have the same employees and wouldn't have any video footage. And so it made it really hard for them to defend themselves. And they were seeing more and more of these cases starting to happening for those types of businesses.
Right. And of course, Bill 118, which recently here in December 2020 received royal assent that it's now going to be law. It changes that statute or that period when people can file a claim for a slip and fall from what was 2 years to 60 days. And as you alluded to, it makes a huge impact for a contractor or a property owner to be able to have their video files and documentation, and a 2-year period was really just a major challenge in that regard. I'm wondering if, Norm, you would be able to sort of walk us through how, the process. This is a private member's bill that you put forward. My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it's at least not super common for private members' bills to actually make it through to this stage where it's now become legislation. Could you tell us a little bit about the process that this legislation took to become law?
Sure, and it was debated. First of all, I introduced it. It was debated in June 6th of last year, and then sent to a committee. And it's true. And in my 20 years of being elected, it's the first private members' bill I've had that the actual private members' bill has become law. I would certainly give lots of support to your members for that being the case, because your members were very vocal in writing and emailing to MPPs all across the province, which gave lots of support to me in the process. So we got it called before the committee in November for a full day of public hearings. And once again, thanks to your members for showing up and presenting how their insurance costs and the challenges out there. I remember, one of the significant cases. One business went from $12,000 to $115,000 in just 3 years, and they presented at committee, and as did insurance brokers and school boards. So there was lots of support there for public hearings. And then the other thing that happened at the committee process was initially I was planning on a 10-day notice period that would make it the same as municipalities in the province. And we did hear also from the trial lawyers who felt that was too short a time period. So we settled on 60 days, hoping that would be short enough that people could still defend themselves, but long enough so that someone that was injured still would be able to give notice. Sure. So I think that was a good compromise, and I think it's important that it's still the same season. So it's not, 2 years later you have different staff, you won't have video footage. It makes it really hard to defend yourself, but at least with 60 days, it's in the same winter season, and so it should be much, the hope is that it'll result in lower insurance costs eventually.
So what would you say, I guess you alluded to a couple different things, but what would you say made this one different, this private member's bill that ultimately was successful in becoming legislation and becoming law? You said in your long career as a member of provincial parliament, this isn't something you see very often. Was it that grassroots support? What was it that made this one different?
Well, yeah, absolutely. The grassroots support was critical, and it was a problem right across the whole province. So that was really helpful as well, because every MPP, pretty much the legislature, was hearing from businesses, voicing support for the private members bill and pointing out the problem that existed. So both those things, really made a difference, and I'm just really pleased that it actually passed. And I think it will make a difference. So I'm really happy about it.
What do you hope, or what do you expect to see? I guess from our end, it's. As you know, it's this insurance sort of crisis has been a real issue for so many of our members, so many business owners across the province, and obviously they came out in support of this legislation, and you could see how important it was to them and their businesses. What do you hope to see, I guess, the results be down the line?
Well, more competitive insurance prices for contractors and for businesses as well. And I think by having a shorter notice period, it leads to more predictability in the insurance market. So instead of having these really old, long suits hanging over businesses and a lot of uncertainty that goes with it, it makes it very difficult for an insurance company to figure out a cost that makes sense. So I think this should result in lower insurance costs, and because there will be more predictability in the whole market.
And I know I can speak, on behalf of Landscape Ontario and our members that we really appreciate the work that you've done on this file. Pushing this through, it's one step in what our association's working on this issue, but it's a big one, and we really do appreciate the work you've done on this legislation.
It's my pleasure, and I really appreciate all the support I received from your members. I think that was critical to actually make it come through, and we don't know what the end result will be. It's hoped that there will be lower insurance costs, so I think it's still a work in progress. I know we learned at committee about other jurisdictions like New Hampshire that if you become a certified operator, then you're protected from liability insurance. I'm going to continue working on other angles as well, like the Safe with Salt program, and trying to see if there's some sort of certification that can go along with that. And I think it's a work in progress, and we need to keep making it more sensible for operators. As I said, we know we're going to have winter, and we know we're going to have snow, and we know we have to remove that snow, and so we have to have a sensible business environment.
Yeah, and again, we really appreciate that. As you said, it's this is one important step, but it's one step. As you mentioned, the New Hampshire model. I know Landscape Ontario is really interested in seeing some of those policies come up here to Ontario that make these snow maintenance professionals are doing really important work, and we need them to be able to do that in a way that makes sense and with insurance that is fair and like I said, makes sense. So we so appreciate your continued work on this issue, and I appreciate you taking the time to chat a bit about it.
No problem, Scott, and Merry Christmas to you and all the members of Landscape Ontario.